Welcome to Missouri Chamber Direct. I'm Karen Bushman. This week we expect Governor Jay Nixon will veto an important bill to cut Missouri's tax rate. The bill was intended to make Missouri more competitive for business. Senate Bill 509 was approved by the House recently, giving the governor until May 1st to make his veto decision. The Missouri Chamber has released an op-ed defending the tax cut proposal, noting that it would help all Missourians. Watch mochamber.com for updates about Nixon's veto decision and an effort to override the veto. In other news, a Missouri senator is continuing his push to protect our state's transportation system. In less than 3 years, Missouri won't have enough funding to maintain our roads and bridges. Senator Mike Kehoe wants to ask Missouri taxpayers whether the state should create a new 1-cent sales tax to help fund transportation. We met with Senator Kehoe, and he explained how his bill would help Missouri's economy.
I believe that a good transportation infrastructure and economic development go hand in glove. I mean, it is absolutely essential to a state's economy to not only have a reliable infrastructure system, but also the ability to expand to meet the needs of businesses, manufacturers, etc., that want to expand in our state or want to move to our state. This is a department of our state that has potentially will have the revenue for construction cut by 75% by 2017. So it's incumbent upon us to try to replace some of those dollars, maybe not all of those, and keep the system at least maintained, which takes roughly about $500 million a year, and hopefully have a little bit of money to complete some other very important projects, whether it be I-70, which sorely needs to be replaced, bridges. We have almost 900 bridges in the state that are ready for closure in the next 2 or 3 years out of our 10,400. So there's a whole, when you have a transportation system our size, there's a lot of projects that need to be accomplished just to keep the system safe and reliable for our residents.
The transportation tax proposal still requires additional approval before it is placed on the ballot. Learn more at mochamber.com. Finally, with 3 weeks left in the legislative session, time is dwindling for the Missouri General Assembly to act on Medicaid reform. Here to talk more about this is the Missouri Chamber's Brendan Cosette. Thanks for joining us today, Brendan. Tell us why it's so important to pass Medicaid reform now.
Well, the most important reason why we need to pass Medicaid reform and expansion this year is that if we don't, we're leaving approximately $2.2 billion federal funds on the table. And this $2.2 billion injected into our state economy that I don't think there's any doubt would be beneficial for all Missourians and especially Missouri businesses.
There was a new study that was released this week that shows just who would benefit from Medicaid reform.
That's right. And of the approximately 300,000 Missourians who will now be covered with health insurance if we pass Medicaid reform and expansion, 60% of them are working adults. These are people we know and interact with day in and day out. These are construction workers, hairstylists, waiters and waitresses, child care workers. That's the group of folks that we definitely want to be delivering a hand up to in our social benefit programs.
The Missouri Chamber spent a lot of resources trying to enact Medicaid reform. Why is this so important to business?
Well, beyond what I already spoke about the $2.2 billion injected in the state economy, there's other reasons why it's imperative that we do that this year. One is the fact that hospitals and healthcare providers are still going to have folks come into their emergency rooms. They're going to have to provide care for those who are uninsured. Well, those costs have to be passed on somewhere, and they're likely to fall on the backs of employers who provide insurance to their employees or self-insured. Additionally, there's a recent Jackson Hewitt study that showed that potential penalties under the Affordable Care Act to businesses in Missouri alone would equal somewhere between $35 and $50 million a year if we don't do Medicaid reform and expansion. I think putting that all together, it makes an incredibly compelling case for business and the Missouri economy that we pass Medicaid reform and expansion this year.
It's an important issue. Thank you for your work on it. That's all for Missouri Chamber Direct. For more news, visit our website at mochamber.com.